I just say fuck my life way too much. Your other catchphrases, I'm sorry, but you're not sorry at all. You're not sorry, no, you're not sorry. Sounds polite.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Daily Dog Walk. And actually today it's kind of like the Daily Dog Run because we're on a run. We're actually on a run. I've even got my gym shoes on. Falling down. But we're on a run. So Sunday's our dog run, and I decided to do the podcast today on our dog run day. And Loki's sitting here very poised, ready to run. There he is. He's ready to run. Now, today's episode was meant to be around men's mental health, but do you know what? I've kind of switched it up a little bit because I've realised, as much as I really want to talk about men's mental health, I want to talk about mental health, period. We've already touched on it a lot throughout the podcast already. Do you know what? I think, the reason I want to step away from just men's mental health is because I want to talk about the family unit itself, okay? Because, it's about relationships. That's really what this whole, everything I've talked about from the very, very beginning, the thread through all of it is relationships, from my mum and my mum and her mum, from the lack of relationships that I've had with my mum, relationship, should I say, that I've had with my mum. So yeah, it's all about relationships. It's all about people. It's not man, it's not woman, it's people at the end of the day. We're all fucked up, And, that's where I want to touch on. And I will share, I'm going to share a little bit about my personal story here. Because the main trigger for all of this, everything you're seeing today, everything you're hearing me talk about it, the reason the main trigger for this was my husband's mental health. And this is why I wanted to start going on about men's mental health, but actually, no. I want to talk about it all because it wasn't his fault, okay, that he had his thing. It wasn't his fault that that he reacted the way he did. That he's only human, okay. Now the thing is, in society, everybody has to blame somebody. It always has to be somebody's fault, okay. But life is freaking complicated. It's so much more complex. And people make mistakes, people do wrong and everything, but most of the time, it's actually not very personal at all. It does affect you, even if it affects you personally, they're doing it because of their own selfish needs, all right? Whether that be right, whether that be wrong, it's just fucking life, okay? You see it in our government now. Do you think they're making decisions based on the people and their well-being? No, they're making it for their pocket. They're making it for their own selfish needs. So you see this thread through absolutely everything. It's not just in families, it's not just in individuals, it's fucking everywhere in life because we're human and it's called fucking human nature. Do you know what I mean? I've started to realise now as I'm getting older that being nice is actually a choice. It is. I don't think it's a choice, and we are a minority, people who are a nice minority, and I'm saying we, right? I'm not nice all the time. I can't boast that at all. Like, in actual fact, there's a lot of people out there that probably think I'm the complete opposite, that I'm, arrogant, nasty, not helpful, not friendly, all of those things. But then there's a load of other people out there that think I'm the nicest person ever, the most helpful. We are who we are to different people, okay? That's just it. And a brilliant example of that is my husband, actually, is my husband. So I will, without going into too much detail, because it's personal and everything is personal to everybody, but everyone is always going to have opinions on everything. But my husband had his own personal mental health struggles 5 years ago, and it was an accumulation, and actually it wasn't 5 years ago. Let's start at the beginning, okay? This is something me and Caroline talk about a lot of the time. If we just started there and I came in here and told you, yeah, he did this to me, he did that to me, and he was a bad man, a bad husband, that's not right. That's not right. Yeah, okay, maybe he did, but maybe I did too. Do you know what I mean? Let's start at the whole freaking the whole story, the whole beginning, okay? Because that's a story, okay? It's not reaction. It's not somebody's narrative. Do you know what I mean? Just so that they can look good in the story. because that's how life works, and that's what you hear. It's what social media does. Always gives you one part or one side. Okay, so it's impossible these days to make informed decisions because you're only getting one person's narrative. Propaganda. It's something I read. I remember learning about propaganda at school, and I remember thinking, God, that won't happen these days because people aren't that stupid. It's all fucking everywhere, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Scaremongering or everywhere you look. Anyways, I'm digressing. I want to get to the point. Now, the point is, we're going back to the very, very beginning. And if we go back to the very beginning, I actually probably don't know where that beginning starts, because that's the thing with mental health. It's all these little thoughts and feelings. And if you don't share them and then you're internalizing them, and over time they might start as a tiny little seed, okay, or like a tiny grain of rice, which is just one little flickering thought that you've had, but that flickering thought becomes more consistent. Then it starts to get louder. Then you start to add things to it, and then other people's actions start to add to it. And by the time you know it, you're fucked. But before you realise you're fucked, everybody around you's fucked. Not fucked off with you, all right? But the ones you love, you've been taken out on them, all right? That's just how life happens. So I can't tell you when his mental health started. I really can't. My point is, okay, we are all narcissists in our own way. We can all be selfish. We can all of that, and we all justify it to ourselves. Okay, so here's my bit. This is what I justified to myself when I was a narcissist. In what I feel was, not narcissist, but it was protection and all of that. And it just takes its toll on everyone around, and you don't notice. But I had a miscarriage 12 years ago. I had a miscarriage. 11 years ago, actually. 11, 12 years ago, I had a miscarriage. Loki, I just get so nervous with the horses here, with Loki. Sorry. Good boy, can you just sit down? I would really like that if you just sat down. Anyway, so I had a miscarriage about 12 years ago, and in that time when I was rolled up in my own self, before I had the miscarriage, for a year beforehand, we'd been trying for a baby, and it was taking its toll on me. It was taking its toll on us as a family unit. We already had a small child already, a 2-year-old, and we've been trying, and well, she was probably 18 months. Sorry, she was a little bit younger, and we've been trying, and it just wasn't happening. So that was stressing me out. We'd moved, and that's really stressful. We moved to a new village. I didn't know anybody, so I was feeling really the stress of it all. And I don't know how my husband was feeling, if I'm honest. Did I ask him? I don't know. I honestly do not know, because I was so wrapped up in the sense of I wanted another baby, and I just thought we were in it together. And we did talk. I do remember talking. We did talk, and it did take its stress on both of us. But our main aim was that we wanted another child, and that was where our focuses were lying. So when I had the miscarriage, it hit me really hard. And I withdrew into myself, and I went into depression. And I never actually thought about how that affected my husband. I didn't at the time. It was all, about how it affected me and my body, and how, I saw myself. And quite quickly after that, I fell pregnant again. So I felt like I was having to protect myself, because I was very traumatized from the whole, can you hear this? Me. Now, okay, of course, it's justifiable. Do you know what I mean? I've just had it's stressful. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not the only person in this relationship. There's 2 of us. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyways, all right, roll forward, I have the baby, and I notice instantly after I've had my baby that my husband's not right. I instantly noticed, because for some reason, I suffered with depression throughout my pregnancy, and I couldn't connect with my baby bump. I connected with the fact I was having a baby, but I was because I'd just had a miscarriage a month before falling pregnant, I'd convinced myself that something was going to go wrong, and that I shouldn't get attached to the baby. So I think I only took one selfie because my cousin online asked me to. That was the only reason I took that. I didn't announce my pregnancy till like later on, till I was like 4 or 5 months. I was very much, I didn't have I had a baby shower, but literally a week before the baby was due, and I wasn't going to do it. Somebody kind of forced that upon me. I just wasn't really, I just wanted this baby so much that I just disconnected to the fact that something might happen to it. Anyways, so that's what I was going through. That was what I was going through. And because of that, I probably wasn't very attentive to my husband's feelings. Anyways, or, just not even just when I say it like that, it makes me sound like I'm an old 1950s wife, right? But no, I'm talking about just somebody who's also going through, he lost a baby too. Do you know? So I'm not talking about just my husband, I'm talking about my friend, my best friend, my partner, who's also going through some shit that, just don't just affect me. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't really at the time acknowledge that probably, but I did. I tell you what, I did though. As soon as I had that fucking baby, sorry my language, as soon as I had the baby, like literally as soon as she popped out of me, it was like a veil had been lifted off, and as soon as she was in my arms, the depression, everything, it just went. She came within half an hour as well, which helped. So it was just amazing. It was like I was back to normal. So I just got mauled by Shetland ponies. So I don't know what I got to. I'm gonna put the camera back. So yeah. So look, right. So for me, I can't remember where I got to, but I think what I was trying to say was, look, literally, I had the baby and a light bulb went off, and then as soon as I'd had the baby, like my depression had lifted. I was very lucky not to suffer from postnatal depression or anything, and I just kind of, I could see my husband, there was something not right. And
okay, so quick interlude. This is the part where the pony staged a full-on ambush. I'd already survived the Shetland pony situation earlier, but apparently they wanted an encore, and yeah, it wasn't just one, it was a whole posse. They were absolutely adorable. Oh my god, I love them. But they also refused to let me breathe, let me think, let me talk, or even do the podcast at all. So eventually I did have to move for my own safety. But let's get back to the podcast now.
Okay, so we've had to move location just slightly up because they just want so much attention, and as lovely as they are, I'm never going to get anything done if I continue to sit there and stroke and kiss horses. So where did I get to? Okay, so yeah, I was ranting again, wasn't I? So I was ranting, basically saying that I've had this beautiful baby, and then all of a sudden I'm like, hang on a minute, my husband's not right. So I noticed it straight away. The thing is, okay, this is the thing. This is where men and women and people are very, very different at dealing with things, okay? Like I was in denial when I was pregnant and I was going through my shit. I was in denial, didn't want to talk about my pregnancy, didn't want to celebrate my pregnancy. That was my way of protecting myself, okay? My husband, he just went in himself. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to, didn't want to deal with it. So in the hand, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's not alone. This is the whole point of what I'm saying about my shit, okay? It's exactly the same as what I did for all the last 30 years. Didn't acknowledge my pain properly, didn't know how to acknowledge my pain properly. Do you know what I mean? So oh my god. I ended up, this is like, I love the best therapy ever, by the way. It's 3 more horses and ponies just came over. So hello gorgeous, hello. Okay, right, try not to get distracted now, but you are gorgeous. Oh my god, it's such a baby. Anyways, sorry, we got distracted again. So what was I saying? Yeah, so it's a people thing. I still don't know why I'm saying that. So many horses. It was everybody deals with their shit differently, okay? This is what I want to try and say, is everybody deals with shit differently, okay? And the detrimental, the effects of always, it's going to be, the impact on everybody else is always going to be substantial, okay, if you do not deal with your shit, okay? So yeah, it's affecting you, it's affecting your mood, it's affecting you every day, it's affecting you not moving forward within your life, it could be affecting your weight, it could be affecting, your job, because you're not moving forward with your job and your career. It could be affecting your unemployment because you can't get a job, because you can't see the wood through the trees. There's so many ways your mental health can affect you, But then what we're talking about is how it affects other people around you. You know, how it can affect other people within the household. So what was the impact of my mental health struggles with my husband? You know, for him to feel the way he did. You know, I'm not saying it was all me and all what was going on with the miscarriage. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not taking full responsibility for that. Absolutely no, not, because again, you have to take responsibility for your own mental health and yourself. Okay, that is my message. All right, and that is what I learned from all of this, and that is what I kept trying to tell my husband. Now he didn't get help. Okay, he let it accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, and it imploded. And this is what happens. Now I'm going to share some interesting statistics with you now. Around 75% of suicides in the UK are men. Men are less likely than women to seek professional help for depression, anxiety or trauma. The most common coping mechanisms among men are avoidance-based alcohol, work, risk-taking or withdrawal. Now, honestly, I relate to that because for me, that's some of the traits that I have. So I don't think that's any different, really, okay, than it is for women. I think it's shockingly high statistics, 75%. I don't know how accurate that actually is. But you know, I think that sits really close to my heart because I know that to be true in the sense of within my family unit. My husband, I don't know if it was because there was a stigma attached to it or he just didn't want to admit it. He was in a very much blame other people kind of thing, and everybody, this is the thing. That's what I was saying. That's not right or wrong because everybody deals with their shit differently. No, it wasn't anybody else's fault. He had to deal with his own shit. Do you know what I mean? But he wasn't ready for that. Okay, and because of that, he went down the road of avoidance. Okay, and that became a very dangerous territory. All right. Now that affected my whole family unit, and that was what triggered my mental health. While he was spiraling, I was trying to keep everything together. I was trying to fix it by being a good wife, by being a good, what I thought was a good wife. Yeah? What I thought was a good wife. What I thought was a good wife was working hard and bringing in my share of the money in to alleviate his problems financially so that I was contributing to the house. That's literally what I thought I had to do to make his life better. I thought I had to look after the kids, and be a good mum. I thought if I did all of those things, and I was a good wife and a good mum, then that would alleviate, that's not what he wanted. That's not what he wanted. That wasn't the stems of, but he wasn't communicating that to me. And because he wasn't communicating, because he was spiraling, and because of his mental health, he needed someone to blame for it. And unfortunately, he blamed me. So it didn't matter what I did, all this stuff that I was doing, thinking I was being good. Actually, in his head, he was like, actually, she's the most selfish bitch ever. Do you know what I mean? All she's doing is cooking, cleaning, going to work. What about me over here? So we weren't on the same page. We absolutely weren't. And, his mental health, then started to affect me because I was overcompensating for him. All right. And, so when I started overcompensating for him, that people pleasing bone came out, and it came out in full force. And I burnt myself out trying to keep my family together. And that was when I realised how codependent that I had become, that I was allowing myself, to be treated in such a way, regardless of what his problems were. I should not have been affected in the way that I was, and there was no truth to his claims. They were just made up in his head because of mental health, His mental health had twisted the truth, twisted his reasons, and they weren't real. They were to him. I have to explain, so they very much were to him, That's what mental health does. It puts narratives in our heads, or it puts a tape on, And he was fully involved, fully committed to that narrative. And in his head, there was no other way. It didn't matter what I said or what I did. Nothing was going to change that narrative. And that's, and this is why it's so important that we all get help when we need it, and we do not drag other people down around us. It's unacceptable. I truly believe that, and we hit a really bad spot in our marriage, in our relationship, and we decided to work together and get through the other side. And I've been with this man for 28 years. 28 years, that's a really long time. And the thing is, nobody could tell, and if I sat down and said, oh, my husband treated me like this, and he did this, and he acted like this, and you'd be like, you should leave him, rah, 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 he's never going to change. Of course he's going to change. That's not the man I married. I didn't marry a man that treated me like that, who did anything like that. I didn't. So, it was clear to me that this was because of his mental health and no other reason. It was absolutely crystal clear. So it was clear to me that this was mental health, because my husband had never been like that previously, okay? And he had turned into a completely different person. So it wasn't about forgiving him. It was about giving him the space to recover. All right. It was about giving him the space to recover, and none of that stupid bullshit. He blamed him for this, she blamed him for that, he did that for this. Da, 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 da. No, it was about putting a line under all of that and recognizing, okay, that we'd both been damaged. Yeah, we both treated each other, in ways that we didn't appreciate. Okay, but it was about recognizing that and moving forward, not just for each other, but also for us as a family unit and our children. Okay. And it's separating the mental illness from the actual actions. Yeah? That makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So this is not about making excuses for people. Okay? Can I just suggest that? This is about recognising being accountable as well. If my husband wasn't accountable, okay, if he was like, nah, it's your fault, and yeah, and all that bullshit, and he wasn't mature enough to actually see, what he'd done, okay, and actually being able to admit that actually, do you know what, you weren't, if he wasn't able to be that mature enough to do that, then yeah, it would be a very, very different story. Very, very different story. Okay? But, he was. So I was very lucky. Like that. And he was very lucky that he had a wife that was understanding enough to realise that he wasn't just, being a mean narcissist arsehole. That, yeah, he was mean and he was not a narcissist arsehole, but there was reasons for that. And that wasn't his true person, okay? So together we were able to come through the other side, okay? So that's why this isn't about mentorship, womanship. Do you know what I mean? This is about mental health and how all of us have got a role to play with that, and how working together as individuals, okay, always works if there's accountability. Okay, and at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? There's enough broken fucking families in this bloody world. You hear about people, committing suicide and killing their children. Do you know what I mean? And taking, all that shit. How dare they? We are all broken as individuals. You're not going to go through life and be 100% happy through the whole of life. Okay, there's going to be shit out there that is going to test you. Okay, but it's about how you deal with it, how you manage it, and sometimes you have to have the people around you, okay, to help you through the other side. What you should never do is bring those people down, bully them, blame them, take accountability. All right, and if you can't, if the people are to blame for how you feel and they can't take accountability, remove yourself. Do not continue this perpetual cycle of bullshit, okay, and harm, all right, and tit for fucking tat, all right, because that's this fucking world in a nutshell, isn't it? It's what everything you see, that's what everything is. It's all tit for tat. No one can put a line under it and move forward with anything. So look, my big takeaway from this is, there's nothing wrong with getting help. Okay, seriously, if there's a crisis going on in your life, or there's something that going on that you are finding difficult and you are struggling with, then you need to talk about it. You need to find someone close that you can talk about it with. Go to a doctor, go to a counsellor, go to your friend, go onto an internet forum, talk, okay, connect. That is my biggest thing, okay, because that was what, if my husband had gone and got the help that he should have got, okay, then I wouldn't have been as affected as I was, okay, and I wouldn't have been as triggered as I was. I wouldn't have had a complete and utter mental break. Honestly, though, I've got to say this, and I know it sounds, in hindsight, in absolute hindsight, my husband's meltdown, and was probably the best thing that ever happened to us. Hands down, it was. I'm not even going to sit here and say it wasn't. We had been plodding along for such a long time, just in autopilot, just doing the things that we thought we had to do on a day-to-day basis. We weren't living for us, for our true selves. We weren't truly happy as individuals, and yeah, we could have coped with it a lot better. Okay, yeah, we could have, but because we were mature enough to deal with the aftermath of of my husband's actions, we were okay in the end. Actually, we're better than okay now. We are solid. It's been 5 years. He's doing well with his mental health, amazingly. He's flying, and myself as well, and together as a unit, we are open, we are honest, we are there for our children 100%. Our daughter had her own mental health struggles, and we had to just, not just suck our shit up. No, we didn't suck our shit up and, just get on with life. That would have been doing exactly what we'd been doing, bad habits from previously. No, we took accountability for each other and how we made each other feel, okay, and we made sure promises, and took action to ensure that we never got put in that situation again. Even if we do have to separate, okay, we recognise that it's not healthy, and we need to be happy now, and our happiness as individuals is just as important as our happiness together as a family, and that's something now that we can sit down and have really comfortable conversations about, and that's what I love. Okay, that's what I absolutely love, that the accountability is there, and that is key to any relationship. Okay, you cannot have a healthy relationship with lies, with deceit, with tit for tat and any of that bullshit. You just can't do it. Okay, trust me, I've been married now for, I don't know how long I've been married for, but I've been in a relationship now for 28 years. 28 years! Take a moment to let that sink in. That's just a lifetime that we've been together. And we've been up, like I said, we've had our ups and downs and everything, but we can boast now that we are happily married, and we have been together, married now for 14 years.
No, I said I couldn't remember. It's 13 actually. It's 13 years. No, it's 14. It's 14 years. Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so bad at this. But so yeah, trust me when I say, right, for a happy, trust my words. I'm going to preach to you. I don't like to preach to people, but I'm going to preach about this because I think I am the authority on this, for a happy relationship. Okay, all right. So ensure that you have full accountability. All right, and if you're not happy with each other, then you got to walk away. Yeah, because staying causes more damage to everybody, including the whole family. Okay, this isn't about when you step into a relationship and when you step into and start having babies and all of that, you have to take responsibility for that, and that's not just financial. Okay, it's up here as well. Okay, you need to be strong enough mentally to handle and to manage all that shit. All right, and if you can't, don't bother. Don't even do it. Okay, cap it. Put something on it. All right, and don't ask her to marry you if you're running around still. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a second phone and all that shit. Okay, if you can't take accountability and be a man or a woman, okay, in your relationship, then don't. babies having babies, that's all I see, and babies having relationships and all that stupid bullshit. Do you know what I mean? No, we did all that. Me and my husband did all of the we started our relationship arguing, and every time we argued, I remember him walking out of the flat with his DVD player, because that was the only thing he had. That was his DVD player that he used to bring around so that we can watch DVDs together. So we'd argue, and then you'd see him go down the stairs with his DVD player under his arm. Petty, yeah. All that shit. I remember that. I remember the bullshit, arguing in the morning, and then like walking down the road, thinking, if he don't follow me within like 2 minutes, he's gonna be in fucking trouble. For fuck's sake, I just told him not to follow me. Do you know what I mean? And now I'm expecting him to follow me. I remember all that bullshit, all those fucking mind games. Do you know what I mean? Like, wow. It's I don't even know how we procreate, actually, with all that bullshit going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, wow. So yeah. Yeah. All right. That's the kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? When you get in your 40s, that you realise, like, wow, that's still going on in the world. All that fucking jealousy, fucking all that fucking, yeah. And people are having relationships in that. People are having children with all of that. Do you know what I mean? Nah. All right. I can't stop that going on in the world, but what I can tell you is to look after yourself, okay, and be mindful of yourself and be mindful of others, okay, regardless if you're a man, regardless if you're a woman, okay. Anyways, we'll see you next time on the Daily Dog Walk. Now, next on the next episode on the Daily Dog Walk, I want to go down. It's because we're spooky month. We're in Halloween, so watch this space. Okay, things might start getting a little spookastic. Is that a word? Spookastic. It is now. See you next time on the Daily Dog Walk.
I just say fuck my life way too much. Your other catchphrases, I'm sorry, but you're not sorry at all. I'm not sorry, no, I'm not sorry. Foul play.